Okay, gentlemen. Erev Shabbat Shalom. Parashat Re'eh. Rabbi is telling the following story. One time you had a Rav who was very friendly with a certain wealthy man, very rich man. And all his life, the Rav was trying to get the wealthy man to donate some money. Various causes, whether it was for food, for the Beit Knesset, for the Aniyim, no Mishneh. Always trying to get, you want to donate? And I said, donating is not for me. Finally, towards the end of the man's life, when the man was already on his deathbed, he calls the rabbi. He says, "Rabbi, you have to come to my house quick." He says, "Oh, finally, he's about to give. He's about to give some money." He comes to the man's house, and the man tells him, he goes, "Listen, Rabbi, I feel that my end is close. Therefore, if you do me a favor, when I die, I want you to take all my money. I'm going to prepare it in bags, and I want you to take all my money and bury me with my money." So the rabbi tells him, "Is this your last will and testament?" He goes, "This is my last will and testament." So the rabbi says, "Okay, fine. If that's what he says, mitzvah l'kayem devrei hamet, and therefore that's what I'm going to do." A couple of days later, the man passes away, and the students, they were there. They heard the tzivui of the met. They heard the tzivui of the rich man that was dying. So it comes to the funeral time, and you see bags of money piled right by the kever. And the students are waiting, that as they're throwing the dirt on the kever, they're expecting the rabbi to throw the money inside also. Instead, the rabbi takes the bag, and he begins loading it in the back of his car. So the students say, "Rabbi, but we heard the man say that you should bury him with his money." The rabbi answered, "It's okay, I'm going to write him a check." That's the story of Rabbi. In this week's parasha, we learn the mitzvah about getting money. It's the mitzvah of tzedakah. If you look in the very first source, the sheets are right there if you want to give them out. The very first source, number 1, pasuk in this week's parasha, Ki yeh becha evyon me'echad achecha. If you're going to have an evyon, a desolate person amongst your brothers, be'echad sharecha, ba'artzecha, Shei Hashem lokech noten lach, lo ta'amet levavecha. Do not harden your heart. Lo tikpotz et yadecha. Do not clench your fist. Me'achecha ha'evyon, from your brother the evyon. Ki patoch tiftach, you shall open et yadecha. B'chuli naton titen, you shall give twice. My question is, Rabotai, what is with this double language? Ki patoch tiftach, naton titen. By Yaakov Avinu it says, aser ta'aser. Why every time when it comes to the mitzvah of tzedakah do we find this double language? Just say it once and I'll get the message. Secondly, why dafka by the mitzvah of tzedakah does it say patoch tiftach? Most of the mitzvah that we do it by our hands. And therefore, if I'm doing it by my hands with the mitzvah, why not by lulav and etrog? Doesn't it say, when you're taking lulav and etrog, patoch tiftach? I have to open my hands to take lulav and etrog. As lama legabei lulav and etrog, or any other mitzvah that I do with my hands, it doesn't say patoch tiftach. But the mitzvah of tzedakah, patoch tiftach. What is the significance of opening one's hands when it comes to giving tzedakah? And not only that, the mitzvah of tzedakah is so great that if you look in source number 2, Gemara Baba Batra, says the Gemara, Shikula tzedakah keneged kol mitzvot. Wow, it's incredible. I always thought that Talmud Torah keneged kulam. Now you're telling me that mitzvah tzedakah is so great, keneged kol mitzvot. What's the explanation? Why dafka when it comes to tzedakah is it as if I fulfilled all the mitzvot in the Torah? So much so that if chas v'shalom a person does not give tzedakah when he's offered the opportunity, the Zohar says in Tikkun Zohar source number 3, "B'oto sha'ah hashechina rogezet b'minah." Chas v'shalom a person has a chance to give tzedakah and he doesn't, the shechina is angry with him. Al naval ki yisba lechem. Naval is a disgusting person who he is eating bread but at the same time he cannot give the aniyim. Shu kamtzan, he's a cheapskate. Naval b'mamono, naval shemo. He's considered disgusting. She'enhu nadiv ve'enhu mizera ha'avot. Wow. The guy is not considered from Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov. If a guy that committed murder, he's still considered zera avot. But you tell me at the same time, the guy who had a chance to give to that guy and he does it, he's not considered zera avot. What's so bad that this guy did or didn't do that we're not considering him part of zera avot? Is the question clear, Rabbi? Number 1, patoch tiftach. What's the double language? Number 2, why dafka by tzedakah patoch tiftach? What's so significant about opening my hands? And what's this whole keneged kol haTorah kula? Those are my 3 questions. B'shutchem, I have a few answers over here that I want to give to the kahal. One answer can be discussed based on the following story. Maybe it was the Samar Rebbe. One time, a ani came to visit the Rav, and he was a very poor man. And he asked the Rabbi, please, and he's telling him his what you call a sob story. And the rabbi felt bad. He opened up his drawer and took out a gold coin, very expensive gold coin, and he gave it to the ani. The ani was expecting maybe a quarter, maybe $1, maybe $10, but in no chance was he expecting the rabbi to take out a gold coin and put it in the ani's hands. The ani got so excited that the rabbi put a gold coin in his hands. He thought the rabbi made a mistake. So as fast as he could, he ran out without even looking back. He was hoping that the rabbi wouldn't notice. All of a sudden, the rabbi says, I forgot something. And he tells the students to go run after the ani. And the ani turns around, and yet he sees 4 or 5 students running after him. He begins to run a little faster. Finally, the students, they call up to him and they say, the rabbi wants to see you again. He goes, Rabbi, remember, this is my luck. Not only my poor, but also even the rabbi that finally gave me money, he wants to take it back. He goes back to the rabbi's office, and he's expecting the rabbi to take back the gold coin. The rabbi opens his drawer and gives him another gold coin. And then he tells him, now you can go away. Now you can go home. And the students are wondering, Rabbi, what happened? We thought you were going to take the gold coin away from the students, away from the poor man. Why did you give him another gold coin? He goes, boys, I'll tell you the following. He says, he looks at it and he goes, what kavanah are we supposed to have? What are we supposed to think when we do mitzvot? He pointed to one of the students. Student A, what are we supposed to think when we're filling the mitzvah of lulav? So one student said, because lulav, the Torah says that you have to take a lulav because it's connected to the spine, which is true, by the way. Rabbi says, okay, fine. How about you? Oh, the lulav, it's in the shape of a sword because you're supposed to be fighting the Satan during Sukkot. Beautiful answer. He goes through each one gives another chidush of why he thinks lulav, we fulfill the mitzvah of lulav. Okay? How about the mitzvah of tefillin? Why don't we fulfill the mitzvah of tefillin? Why students? Oh, because we do seven straps, because the 7 is connected, the 7 makot, that's in Parashat Va'era, and then we do 3 around the finger, connected the 3 makot in Parashat Bo, give me all these things, the Muslim, it's gematria, it's this and that. Rabbi's very impressed. But he tells, boys, I did not yet hear the answer that I wanted. He said, Rabbi, what do you mean? He goes, the reason why we do mitzvot, at the end of the day, it's not because the lulav is the sword, not because the tefillin is connected the makot. The reason why we do mitzvot, at the end of the day, is because Hashem said. That's why we do mitzvot. And a basic kavanah that anybody can have as they do any mitzvah is because Hashem said. It's almost as like when you're yelling at, not yelling, but you're talking to one of your kids, you tell him, I want you to pick up the garbage. He tells him, Abba, why? What do you tell him? Because I said, exactly, because I said. Hashem is the same thing. We do mitzvot at the end of the day because I said. There's no other reason why. That's the basic kavanah. If a person, when he's doing a mitzvah, he has in mind, the reason why I'm doing this mitzvah is because Hashem said, you get first class in Shamayim. First row in Shamayim. There's no other mitzvah. You're right. Everything else that we think about, Yud Kei Vav Kei, and we multiply it, and we do this, and we do that, all that is nice. But everything is considered gravy. That's just the cherry on top. At the end of the day, the reason why we fulfill the mitzvot is because Hashem said there's no greater kavanah. You know, there is a famous Rav Saadia Gaon. Rav Saadia says that he gives 10 different reasons of why we blow the shofar on Rosh Hashanah. One reason he says is because Rosh Hashanah took place during Akedat Yitzhak. And therefore we blow the shofar on Rosh Hashanah to remind Hashem of the Akedah. Beautiful. Another mitzvah, he says, the reason, he says, because really when a person, when a malchut, when a kingdom is coordinating a king, when they're establishing the kingdom of a king, usually they blow the shofarot. Therefore, so too on Rosh Hashanah, when we're declaring Hashem's dominion over us, we also blow shofarot. Another beautiful answer. Another answer, he says, the reason why we blow shofar on Rosh Hashanah is because everybody's sleeping. The whole year we're sleeping. In order to wake us up, we blow shofar. Blowing the shofar, it wakes us up in order to do Avodat Hashem. All beautiful reasons. But if you look in the Gemara of Rosh Hashanah, Gemara says, Lama Tok'in Bashofar. What's the Gemara say? Rahmana Amru Tiknu. Because Hashem said to blow. He does all the reasons that maybe we could apply. Again, it's all gravy, it's all cherry on top, it's all very nice. The person could be thinking this as he's blowing the shofar. Yes, the reason why blowing the shofar is because of Sadia and this and Akedah and all that is very nice. But the reason why we blow the shofar, Rahmana Amar Tik'u, because Hashem said to blow the shofar. And that is the base kavanah of all the mitzvot. And therefore, go back to the story. The rabbi told the students, the reason why I gave the ani twice is because the first time that I gave him, I was really, the reason I thought I was giving him is because I felt bad for him. He walks inside, the guy hasn't eaten in 3 days, he's all in rags, his face is black. When I first gave him to the guy, I gave him because I felt bad for him. Then I realized that when I gave him, I didn't have Hashem in mind. I didn't give tzedakah because Hashem said to give tzedakah. Therefore, I had him come back so I could give him one more time. In this way, I had kavanah. The reason why I'm giving this ani tzedakah is because Hashem said. That's what double language patoach tiftach. Because the first patoach, when I gave him, I forgot to have the kavanah. Oh, tiftach. And the second time I gave him, my kavanah was that now this is for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. There's an amazing Gemara. If you look, I brought it down in the Gemara Yoman. Listen to the Gemara. This is source number 4. It says the Gemara as follows. The Gemara says, Kan Rabbanan, Shiv'a banim hayu la lekimhit. There was a woman that she lived in times of Bayit Rishon or Sheni, and her name was Kimhit. Says the Gemara, V'kulan shimshu b'kihuna gedolah. Incredible. All 7 of her children became Kohanim Gedolim. To have one son to be the Kohen Gadol is like winning the lottery. In the $1 billion lottery that we had, that's in 1 in 300 million, that's like having one child serve as Kohen Gadol. All of a sudden she had 7 kids serve as a Kohen Gadol. So they asked him, Amnullah Chachamim, ma asit shezachit lakach. What did you do in your life? What mitzvah did you fulfill that you were zocheh to this? Amra lahem, so she tells them, Lo miyamai, lo ra'u korat beiti kal sa'ari. She told them that in my lifetime, not once did the walls of my house see my braided hair. Meaning that she was so tsanua in the way that she held herself in her home. Not even the walls of her house saw her hair uncovered. And the Ben Ish Chai, he explains, midah keneged midah. Just like she was the most tsanua in her home, therefore her children had the zechut to serve in the most tsanua place in the world. What's the most tsanua place in the world? Kodesh Kodashim, Rabotai. Only one man was allowed to go inside the Kodesh Kodashim once a year. Kohen Gadol, that's it. It's considered the most tsanua place. Nobody went inside. Therefore, midah keneged midah. You held yourself in a way that's considered tsanua. Midah keneged midah. Your children will also serve in the most tsanua place. And says the Ben Ish Chai, the way that she made her hair was also incredible. Most women, they brush their hair, then they put on the mitpahat, then they put on the hair covering. For her, she put on the mitpahat, she put on the hair covering, and under the hair covering, she would do her hair. Something incredible. That's how tsanua she was. Therefore, midah keneged midah, your children are going to serve in the most tsanua place. So therefore, the rabbis, they tell Kimchit, says the rabbis, if that's the case, that the reason why you owe your children being Kohanim Gedolim is because of your mitzvah of tzniut. Says the Gemara, Anulam harbe asu ken velo ho'elu. They tell her that many people, they did like you, and yet none of their children served as Kohanim Gedolim. End of the Gemara. Says the Beni Oyada, which is the Ben Ish Chai. Why? What's the difference? Why by Kimchit did she have the zechut of all her children becoming Kohanim Gedolim, but why by other ladies who did the same mitzvah were not zocheh? Says the Beni Yoadan, source number 5, Perush asu tzniut b'shvil harviach davar yakar zeh. Because the reason why these women copied Kimchit was only laharviach davar yakar zeh, was only to gain the schar of their children becoming Kohanim Gedolim. And therefore she had tzniut misugelet kihuna gedolah, because tzniut is a segula to have your children serve as Kohanim Gedolim. Lekach lo ho'ilu. And for that reason, that's why it didn't help. You see, because when Kimchit, when she was being tsanua, why was she being tsanua? Because Hashem said. And therefore, since you were doing it for the right kavanah, because Hashem said, therefore Hashem said, oh, if you're doing it for the right kavanah, I'm going to give it to you. However, the other ladies who saw Kimchit and copied her, the reason why they did the mitzvah wasn't because Hashem said, rather it was because they saw Kimchit and they did it for the reward at the end of the day. And that's why, says the Ben Ish Chai, that's why it didn't work. So therefore, the lesson is from here is that, Rabotai, we do mitzvot all day. All day. Everybody here is religious. Baruch Hashem, we keep Shabbat, we plant Tevilim, we check our Shatnez, the whole 9 yards. The question is, are we having the right kavanah behind it? I'm not talking about the deep kavanah of the Zohar and that reason. Forget about that. If you want to know what is a sure way to get yourself in Olam Haba, first row, just have in mind who is commanding me to do this mitzvah. You could be what's called a b'di'avad Jew, and you're right. B'di'avad, if you do mitzvah, you didn't have kavanah, it's okay. But lechatchila, you want to know what's considered a lechatchila Jew, is in order to have this proper kavanah. Before I do a mitzvah, every single time I have this kavanah, that's it. The reason why I'm doing it is because Hashem said. I read a story recently that there was a certain avrech. And this avrech took upon himself that not only is he going to pray b'binyan, but he's going to pray in a binyan kavua. Every single day he's going to go to a certain shul, and he's going to pick that shul. It's a mitzvah. Have your makom kavua, that's the shul you're going to pray in every single day. And he's going on a streak for months. He's been praying in the same shul, Minhan Beach, Shacharit, every single day. And all of a sudden, right before Minhan one time, he's getting ready. He puts on his jacket, puts on his hat. He's about to go out. All of a sudden, his stomach begins to hurt. Ka'ivim that he never felt before. And he's wondering what was going on. You know, I made a deal with myself that I'm not going to miss this minyan, and yet I can't move. All of a sudden, as the pain subsides, he gets up and he runs to shul. Maybe I can still catch the minyan. And as he gets in, they're just starting Hazarah. He says to himself, listen, I have 2 choices. Choice number 1 is that b'di'avad, if I start now Hazarah with the Hazan, it's considered Tevilah b'minyan. B'di'avad. It works it's b'di'avad. However, I could go find another minyan, and that's considered lechatchila. Maybe I'm going to go find a different minyan. They pray minyan at a later time. I'm going to catch them. I'm going to start from the beginning. He decides, you know what? I'm not going to be a b'di'avad Jew. I'm going to be a lechatchila Jew. So he goes, he finds another minyan, he prays from the beginning. And as they end mincha, all of a sudden the Gabbai gets up and goes, Rabotai, we still have a few minutes till Arvit. Does anybody want to say the Dvar Torah? Avrech says, why not? I'll say the Dvar Torah. He gets up, he speaks for 5 minutes, and it was great. Everything was just fine. And then the prayer Arvit, and everybody went home. Little did he know was that there was a non-religious Israeli soccer player in that minyan. And the reason why he was there is because he was saying Kaddish for his mother that just passed away. And when that Avrech spoke, it absolutely hit him bullseye right in the target. He said, you know what? It's from this Avrech's speech that he turned his life completely 180 degrees. And from that speech, he slowly started to become religious. And he, Baruch Hashem, he married a religious girl. And after the wedding, by the Shem Baruch, he invited this Avrech that decided to come, and he asked the Avrech to speak. And he gave this Avrech a whole introduction. It's because of this rabbi's speech that I stayed when I was saying Kaddish for my mother, did I become religious. It was that day that I was Choser B'Tshuvah. The Avrech got up, when it's his turn to speak, he says, Rabotai, just like that man became Choser B'Tshuvah that day, I also became Choser B'Tshuvah that day. From becoming a B'di'avad Jew to a Lechatchila Jew. That's considered also being considered a Choser B'Tshuvah. Therefore, when a Jew decides to make that difference, that small difference between what am I thinking as I'm doing a mitzvah, whether I'm not thinking anything, whether because the reason why I'm doing it is because Hashem said, that makes a world of this. That means that you're becoming from a B'di'avad Jew to, in that case, a Lechatchila Jew. Ad Gan, Terutz number Rishon. Is that clear, Rabotai? Good. Answer number 2, this is a little deeper. Look at source number 6. This comes from a Midrash Rabbi in Kohelet. It says the Midrash, Tani, B'Shem Rabbi Meir, Kishe'adam ba le'olam, when a person comes to the world, Yadav hein kiputzot. When a baby is born, when the first is born, the way the baby comes out is the hands are tight like this. However, Kilomar, Kol ha'olam kulo sheli. Because with the baby saying that when I'm born, the entire world, it belongs to me. I need no halal. I'm gonna inherit everything. However, when a person dies from this world, when he's iftar, then his hands are open. I did not take with me from this world anything. When a baby is born, he doesn't make any heshbonot. If the parents are exhausted, they had a long day, rough day, the baby doesn't care. He's crying because whatever he wants, he needs it right now. Therefore, when the baby is born, it's very selfish. The world doesn't matter to me. Right now, my hands are kifutzot. They're like this. Everything, it belongs to me. When he dies, then he opens it. Based on this midrash, says the Rabbi called Rabbi Yosef Tzarfati in source number 7. He explains it inside. He says, Hine. This is why Hashem complains to the people and he says, Lo ta'amet et levavecha v'lo tikvotz et yadecha me'achicha. When it comes to the mitzvah of giving tzedakah, Hashem says, do not close your fist to your brother, to your destitute brother. Al na tikvotz et yadecha be'oto te'una shomer d'ba. Says Hashem that when it comes to the mitzvah tzedakah, when your brother is in need and you have to give him something, do not be like the day that you were born. When the day that you were born, your hands were closed. And therefore, don't do that same te'unah, that same action that you're doing when you were born to when your brother asks to give you something, to give you a little tzedakah. And therefore, the guy says, Kol ha'olam shelihu. When a person asks for tzedakah, you're closing your hands, what you're basically telling him is, Ka'olam sheli, that you don't deserve anything. I worked hard for this money, therefore, why do you deserve? At the end of the day, says the Rabbi, at the end of the day, says the Rabbi, you're going to open up your hands to him one day. When are you going to open up your hands? The day that you're going to die. When you die, forcefully you're going to open your hands. In order to tell me, I didn't inherit from this world anything. It's better now that you open up your hands in this world from your will, willingly, while you're still alive. Incredible. Therefore, he connects the two things. The reason why Hashem does not want you to close your hands when a guy asks for tzedakah is in order not to be like a met. When it comes to a guy dying from this world, his hands are closed, his hands are open. We want you to be like the dead person. Just like a dead person, before he leaves this world, he opens it up. Therefore, be like the dead person. Before he leaves this world, his hands are open. So too in your life, willingly. Have your hands open when the guy asks for tzedakah. And don't be like we're born. When we're born, our hands are closed. And therefore, it's considered something negative. And based on this, Rabbi, we can explain. Shlomo Melech says in Mishlei, tzedakah tatzil mimafet. What does that mean? Tzedakah tatzil mimafet. How does that work exactly? So simply it means that it's midah keneged midah. When an evyon, when a poor person, he needs something to eat or he needs money, if he doesn't get that money, he might die. If you don't give him that money for the sandwich, he might just die. And therefore, the fact that you gave the ani money, what you did in return is that you basically gave him life. And the fact that you're giving him life, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, oh, midah keneged midah, you supported the poor man when he had nothing to eat, and therefore you gave him hayim. So too, I'm going to support you, and I'm going to give you hayim. Midah keneged midah. This is not me, by the way. This is the Zohar. If you look in Zohar in Parashat Eker, this is source number 8. It says the Zohar, ubigin. Kain v'tzedakah tetzeh mimavet. Why is that so? The ani chashuv kamet. Says the Gemara in Nedarim that an ani, a poor person, is considered as if he's dead. However, v'ihu mehayele. When you give him money, you're giving him life. Uv hachi kuchabrichu mehayele. So too, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, He's also going to give you life. If you give the ani life, Hashem will also give you life. Tzedakah tetzeh mimavet. However, this is different. There's a deeper explanation based on what we just said. I can explain it with the story based on what happened to the Baba Sali. Everybody knows the story, but I'll say it anyway. The story goes that a young Avrech learning in yeshiva, he decided to go visit the Baba Sali on his Ben Ezvanim, on his vacation day. And Baba Sali lived in Nahariya, which is very far north in Eretz Yisrael. He's like, you know what, it's worth the 3-hour drive from Jerusalem. I'm going to drive to see the Baba Sali. 3 hours later, he finally gets to the Baba Sali's house. He's all excited to see the rabbi, to see the gadol. He walks inside, and the moment the Baba Sali looks at him, he begins to embarrass him. He tells him that you are a Rasha Merusha, you don't deserve any good that Hashem gives you. You don't go to minyan, you don't learn as much as you should. The guy turned all colors of the rainbow. And he leaves the house of the Baba Sali, distraught and very upset. He gets back into his car, doesn't talk to him, gets back in his car to drive to Yerushalayim. And as he's driving back to Yerushalayim, crazy accident, his car flips off the mountain. And the car was literally like an accordion, but the kid came out unscathed, 100% fine, nothing happened. He looks at his car is like a marshmallow, and the kid's 100% fine. He's something that I have to go back to the Baba Sali. He goes back to the Baba Sali. The moment he walks inside the Baba Sali's house, Baba Sali gets up and he gives him the biggest hug. And he tells him, because the reason why, the first time when you came in, the reason why I embarrassed you is because when you walked inside my house, I saw the words Mabet written on your forehead. And therefore, I had to figure out a way to take away the Mabet now, in order so Hashem or the Malach HaMavet doesn't get you later. I have to kill you now, in order so you're not going to die later. And what does it say about a person who gets embarrassed? It's like you killed him, exactly. Therefore, the Baba Sali had to kill him right then and there in the house. So later on, when he gets back inside his car and he drives, he's going to get into an accident, he doesn't die later. That's basically the story. True story, by the way. Based on that, we can explain what's going on over here. How is tzedakah tetzeh mimavet? Well, I'll tell you. If the guy opens up his hands and gives the ani money, what is he doing? That action of opening up his hands and giving the ani money, what is he exemplifying? He's exemplifying the action that a dead person does in this world. Right? Just like the dead person, when a person dies, his hands are open. So when he's alive, he opens up his hands to give the ani tzedakah, he's also doing a tiunah that a dead person does. And therefore Hashem says, you're doing an action that you're considering yourself dead in this world by giving the money to the ani, by opening up your hands, which is the tiunah that somebody does. So do tzedakah tetzeh mimavet. That's why you're already considered dead. Therefore, even if there's a gezerah on you to die, Hashem says, I'm going to take it away. I'm going to take it away. Because you already did something in this world that you consider yourself, just like the Baba Sali embarrassed the guy and then, so to speak, he killed him. So too, when you open up your hands, you're acting as if you're a dead person. And therefore, you're killing yourself to be mekayim the mitzvah of tzedakah. Therefore, says the Rabbi, tzedakah tetzeh mimavet. Because in this case, you're already considered dead. Even if there's a gezerah upon you, therefore, Hashem will take your life. That is the in-depth explanation of why tzedakah tetzeh mimavet. Based on this, what time we can explain. We can explain the significance of giving tzedakah. If you look at source number 9, this is Rabbi Elimelech Lizinsk. Says the Rabbi Ha'adam. Lo nivra ba'olam. The reason why a person was born into this world, rak l'shaber et teva. The reason why we're born is to change our bad habits. A person is born in this world and he has a lot of negative things that go around him. The guy's angry, he's a ka'asan, the guy's a kapdan, the guy's lazy, all these things. We were brought in this world in order to break those habits, to change our bad habits into good habits. Also, reason why we get married, by the way, the same thing. Our wife will tell us in case we're thinking that we're good in one inyan. She'll change. Therefore, a person should try very hard in order to fix himself. Okay, he says dafka 18 because that's when you're supposed to get married. However, it can go on. Person was born, he's very akshan, he's very stubborn. He should try to break that habit of his. 40 days. 40 days in a row of not being stubborn, not being akshan, says the Rabbi, that's going to change your teva. Ritufim in a row. Lasot dafka lehefech mema she'ala b'machshavato. He should do the opposite of what he's thinking. The guy's thinking to be akshan, to be stubborn, do the opposite for the next 40 days, you're going to break it. Says the rabbi, let's say the guy is very lazy, he's an atzlan. The guy knows he's lazy. If he acts in a very not lazy way, there is zirut. How do you say zirut? That I guess alacrity. That's very in a quick way for the next 40 days. He's going to break it. Maybe, by the way, I'm just thinking out loud. Maybe that's why Sfaradim. Maybe that's why we start slihot during Rosh Chodesh Elul, because we're lazy the entire year. And Hashem says, if you do 40 days from Rosh Chodesh Elul to Yom Kippurim, it's exactly 40 days. So maybe this whole tikkun, the guy every single day, he doesn't go to minyan, or he goes to minyan, he goes to 9 o'clock minyan, he's lazy. So Hashem says, if you wake up for the next 40 days, 5 o'clock in the morning, slihot, you're going to break that teva of you being lazy. Says the rabbi, let's say a guy, he's not matmid, he's not so great in learning. Therefore, 40 days, learn as strong as you can in order to fix this midah of negative learning that you had. But the problem is, Rabotai, that there's an issue with this. What's the issue? Because you're telling me, yeah, I accept the fact that you're telling me that in order to break a negative trait, I have to work on it for 40 days. I accept that. But the problem is, and get this principle very well, that the beginning of everything serves as a predictor for things to follow. Again, the beginning of everything serves as a predictor for things to follow. I'll give you an example. Let's say you have a new boss, and the boss wants to establish his dominion over the company. So on his first day, what does he do right away? He acts in a very tough way. So the employees, they believe that there's no playing around over here. Lamashal, anybody know who Elon Musk is? Everyone knows who he is. This is very good. He bought recently a company called Twitter. The first day that he bought the company, what did he do? He fired half the staff. And he also changed the name of the company. Why did he do that? In order to establish that he's the boss of this company. Right away, if the guy on the first day does something that's very strict, people know this boss you can't play with. Can I give you a better example from Tanakh? Okay, so from Tanakh, they say that it rained for 40 days and 40 nights. The world was in Babu. Which parasha am I talking about? Noah. Very good. The first thing that Noah does when he gets off the Teva, the Torah says, Vayachel Noach ish Adama. That Noah, he turned the Adama into Vayachel. That he turned the Adam into mundane. He turned the Adama into something mundane. If you can imagine, after the Mabul, the world was considered as it was first created. Everything was considered tohu, everything was destroyed, and after the Mabul, after the water subsided, everything was like brand new again. Anything that you did, anything that you planted, any action that you did into the world, it held forever. Therefore, the rabbis tell us, and maybe something we could go into much deeper in a few weeks from now, that if the first thing that he would have done as he got off the Teva is he would have built the Beit Midrash, the world would look completely different than it does today. Maybe Torah would be much more spread. Judaism would be much more available than it is today if Noah would have just done something positive. Instead, what did he do? He planted a vineyard, exactly. He planted a drug. He planted something that's considered negative. Therefore, because the first thing he did when he got off the Teva, when the world was saturated with holiness, anything he could have done, there was growth hormones everywhere. All you have to do is just tap in, just plant something that's considered positive, and the outcome would have been positive. Instead, he planted something negative. The first thing that you do when you get off the Teva is you plant a vineyard, something that's considered alcohol, something that can get you drunk. Therefore, because of that, Vayachel Noach ish Adama, he made the world mundane. He made it negative. Based on this, now we understand. Because the problem is, it is the first thing that makes a big difference in what we do in our lives. I'll give you an example. When a person wakes up in the morning, it's as if he was created from anew, right? It's considered pure at this point. If he does something that's considered positive the moment he wakes up, then his entire day is going to be filled with Kiddusha and Avodat Hashem. However, most people, what do they do the first thing they wake up? What do they do? They look at their phones. Exactly. It's just like Noah. The moment he came out of the Teva, he planted a vineyard. The first thing you do when you wake up is immediately you open your phone. You check what was the latest Instagram reel. What was the email?
You gotta shut off the alarm clock.
You gotta shut off the alarm clock. I wish, Nisan. I wish that was the first thing to do. Therefore, says the rabbi called the Igrat Pirka in source number 10. Katru Tamidei Habal Shem Tov. Nizaher b'mu'ado mitato. Be very careful when you wake up in the morning. Shetiyeh hamachshava rishona lahadibur harishon v'hama'aseh rishona l'Hashem yitbarach b'torah mitzvot. The first thing you're supposed to do when you wake up in the morning, if you want to have a positive day, if you want to have a day that's filled with kedusha, a day that will lead you to become a better person spiritually, the first thing you do is the machshava rishona is habit about HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Because of this, Yehu nigrarim kol machshava hadibur. Your entire day will be considered positive. V'ma'aseh shekol hayom. Ki hu b'bechinat bara bukra ve'avach hagadol. Shekol achim nigrarim acharav v'chayvim b'chvodo. It's almost like you have an older brother. And if the older brother will have a positive influence, all the brothers that follow him will follow in his footsteps. If the older brother is learning in yeshiva, I guarantee you the other kids will also learn in yeshiva. If the older brother is doing shtuyot, going to clubs or whatever it is, the younger brothers are going to do the same thing. It's almost as like when a person decides, you know what, I'm going to go on a diet. Today I'm going to go on a diet. So if the first thing he eats in the morning on his new diet is an apple, then he started the day off positive, then I guarantee you for lunch it's going to be a salad, and for dinner it's going to be, I don't know, grilled chicken breast. However, if the moment he wakes up in the morning, the first thing he has on his new diet is a stack of pancakes that's smothered in butter and syrup, I guarantee you the rest of the day is kind of going to be ruined. Therefore, it all depends on our first moment. What do we do when we first wake up in the morning? Based on this, now we can explain. Why is the mitzvah tzedakah considered kineged kol mitzvot? Look at the next source in source number 11. This is the Pinchas Rabbi. He's talking about כיוון שהדבר הראשון שהאדם עושה ברגע שהוא נולד לאוויר העולם, what is the first thing a person does when he's born? His hands are closed, exactly. That's considered a bad midah. That's considered the midah of kamtzanut. The guy's a kamtzan. And therefore it says, Rabbi Friedman, Shu mahazik et yadav kuvutzot kedei lahachritz bekach. He's making an announcement when he's born and his hands are closed. Go la'olam shelihu. Harei mevuar ki midah ra'azu. This bad characteristic trait of being a kamtzan, being a cheapskate, zohi shehi yetzer hatavan lekabel et kol evlei ha'olam hazeh hu bebichinat shoresh v'chol hamidot hara'ot she'adam nolad bahem b'tiv'o. Being a kamtzan is the shoresh. It is the root of all bad traits. It's the root of all bad character. And therefore, I accept the fact that you told me that the reason why a person is born is to fix his bad character traits. However, if the first character trait that he's born, that he comes to the world to, is this midah kamtzanut, how do you expect him to fix anything? If the first midah is something negative, it's like Noah, you planted a vineyard, now the whole world is ruined. The guy that ate pancakes in the morning, your whole day is ruined. Therefore, if my first midah is midah ra'ah, and it's the shoresh, it's the root of all bad midot, how can I possibly fix anything? You're right, I worked on being lazy, I worked on being a kasan, I worked on being a kabdan, that's all great and fine. However, I'm working on quicksand. Because no matter how much I work on these mitzvot, what is the foundation? The foundation is kamtzanut. The foundation is being miserly. The foundation is being a cheapskate. If I don't fix that, then everything that I do afterwards, there's no reason for it. You know what? The mashal. A guy, his car breaks down. He has no idea why it broke down. He's thinking maybe it's the lights. So he decides to change all the lights. Starts up, it's not the lights. He's like, you know what? Maybe I'll fix the starter. He changes the starter, it's not going. Then you decide, you know what, let's make an oil change. Not the oil change. Maybe it's the AC, it's not the AC. Finally, Habibi, you have to change the car battery. It's the car battery that's the problem. So you change the car battery and the car starts. We could be fixing all the bad midot that we want. It's the windshield wiper, it's the oil, it's this, that. It's the kapdanut, it's the kasanut, it's all those things. Maybe. But at the end of the day, if you don't change the battery, kamtanut is the battery of the car. If we don't fix the fact that we're born as cheapskates, then anything else, anything that follows, again, you're working on quicksand. It's like you're building a building that's just going to fall. Now we understand why it's the God's connected kol mitzvot. Because when a person decides that he's going to break the midah kamtzanut, he was born like this. But in this world, if he emulates a dead man and he goes like this, he opens up his hands and he decides to give the aniyim to the guy, does to be very generous when it comes to his money. Now all the mitzvot that he does, all the midot that he works on, now can finally fall into place. Once he changes the car battery, then you can change the oil. Then you can change the washer fluids. Then you can change everything else in the car, because everything will follow. Now, once the guy does that, then all the mitzvot fall into place. Because at the end of the day, why do we do mitzvot? Why do we do mitzvot?
Sure.
Okay, so that's a nice and I accept to get closer to Hashem. But there's a deeper reason why we do mitzvot. This is, by the way, this is Chaim Vital. We'll read it inside in a second. Chaim Vital says in the name of the Arizal, the reason why ultimately we do mitzvot is because the mitzvot, they purify us. When Adam and Hava, when they ate from the tree, the Nahash, we spoke about this last week, the Nahash put a certain poison inside Adam and Hava. The moment they ate from the tree, he injected poison inside all of them. And that poison lasted not only Adam and Hava, but also all the generations to follow. All of us, we had this poison inside of us because Adam and Hava ate from the tree. And the only way to get rid of this poison is by doing Torah mitzvot. There's 365 negative commandments and 248 positive commandments. Just like in Keneged those commandments is how many limbs and sinews we have in the body. The Rabbi tells us that a person in his body has 248 limbs and 365 sinews. And Keneged the limbs and the sinews is one mitzvah. Therefore, each time we do mitzvah, we bring purity upon those limbs that have the poison inside of them. However, again, if the person is doing the mitzvah, doing these mitzvah, but the basis of the mitzvah he doesn't correct, he still has the midah kamtznut, and the mitzvot, they don't mean anything. Oh, that's why tzedakah can get all the mitzvot, because once he fixes this mitzvah, this negative trait of kamtznut, then everything else will follow. Let's read the Chaim Vital inside. This is source number 12. He says, Ki behet etz hadat nifgemu ramah evarim, 248 limbs, v'shasa gidim, 365 sinews, mizuamat hanachash, with the poison of the nachash, v'lechein yitan lana HaKadosh Baruch Hu merachamav amach mitzvot aseh kedei leteken bahem ramah evarim shenifgemu. That's why Hashem specifically gave us 248 positive commandments in order for us to fix the 248 limbs in our body. V'shasa lo ta'aseh kedei leteken bahem shasa gidim shenifgemu. That's the reason why and based on this now we understand. We read in Pesach Makot, right? Rabbi Hanina Makash Omer, Tzagadosh Baruch Hu l'zakot et Israel. L'pikach rebel lahem Torah mitzvot. What does it mean l'zakot et Israel? It comes from the word zikuch. Zikuch means Shem Zayid Zach. What is Zach? To purify. Exactly, because these mitzvot, rebel lahem Torah mitzvot. Hashem gave us more mitzvot. Why l'zakot us? In order to purify us, because these mitzvot, the whole point is to purify us. And now we understand, by the way, why if a person doesn't give tzedakah, the Zohar said that he's not considered mizera avot, because what did the avot, what did they exemplify in? They exemplified in fixing their midot. Abraham Avinu wasn't born in ish hesed. He wasn't a man that just woke up one morning and said, you know what, I'm going to build a hotel, I'm going to give everybody free food, free drink, free everything. He wasn't born like that. He was born with a certain midah, and he had to work on it in order to become ish hesed. Yaakov Avinu, when he was born, he didn't say ish, he wasn't born ish emet, he had to work himself, ish emet. Therefore, if a person doesn't give tzedakah and he doesn't fix his midot of kamtzanut, now we understand why he's not from zera avot. Because the avot, they worked on themselves to change the midot. This guy doesn't want to work on himself, and therefore that's why the Zohar says that he's not considered zera avot. Is that clear, Rabotai? I just want to take this a little deeper, and then we'll stop. The Gemara in Tanit on Daf Bet, it says like this: the Gemara Tanit says that there's 3 keys, 3 maftehot that Hashem doesn't give over to anybody. He keeps it in his pocket. Those 3 keys are, anybody know? Childbirth and Geshamim. Very good. However, the Gemara says on Daf Bet, that there's another key that he keeps, and that's the key of Parnasah. It says the Gemara in Tanit and Daf Bet, in the West they said, Af Mafteach Shel Parnasah. That also the key of Parnasah Hashem holds, doesn't give it to anybody. Tichtiv Poteh Et Yadecha. Now the question is, Rabotai, how do we get Hashem to give us the key? How do we get Hashem to unlock the otzarot of Parnasah in order that we should have it? Well, get this rule good, because we said this rule many times. The principle is, in order to trigger a response from above, we must perform a corresponding response from below. Again, in order to trigger a response from above, we must perform a corresponding response from below. What does that mean? If a person wants Hashem to give us Parnasah, he has to do something similar on this world that's Keneged that Parnasah. For an example, if a person wants Hashem to give you Parnasah, you also have to give Parnasah. The moment you do that, Hashem says, oh, he's giving Parnasah, therefore I will give Parnasah as well. This is spelled out in the Zohar HaKadosh. This is in source number 14. It says the Zohar, Be'it arbata dilitata, in order to trigger a response litata from the bottom, ashtikach arbata de'ilah. We do a response on the bottom for Hashem to do it on top. He explains by the Shla in source number 15. It says the Shla, We read it in Arvit. This is a Perek in Tehillim. Hashem tzilecha. We say that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is our tzel. What's our tzel? Is our shadow. How is Hashem exactly our shadow? Says the Rabbi, Mahu Hashem tzilecha. What does it mean Hashem is our shadow? Kitzilcha. He is our shadow. Ma tzilecha. Im ata mesachek lo, hu mesachek lecha. If you start playing around with your shadow copies you. Vim ata boche. And if you cry, hu boche kenegdecha, he's also going to cry. Vim ata mar'eh lo panim zu'amot, o mesuvarot. And if you show him happy face or a sad face, he's going to show you the same. So to Hashem, whatever way we act on earth, Hashem acts towards us the same exact way. Kishem shata have imo, hu have imcha. This is a huge principle, especially around the holiday times. But before Yom Kippur, it's a famous thing that we do. We go up to everybody, we say, I'm sorry. Sorry, why are we doing that? Why are we doing that? It's because of this inyan. We want to trigger an I'm sorry or a forgiveness from Hashem from above. Therefore, we want to copy him. We do the same thing. We go around and we ask everybody for forgiveness and we forgive other people because once we do that, Hashem says, you did it here, I'm going to do it over there. Hashem tzilicha. Oh, based on this, now we can explain tzedakah. This is the Ramban, by the way. This is source number 16. Vayomer Elokim el Moshe. God tells Moshe, Eheyeh. Asher eheyeh. What does that mean? Mahu eheyeh, asher eheyeh, says the Ramban. Kishem sha'ata hovei ami, kahani hovei imcha. What does that mean? If a person opens his hands and he gives tzedakah, so too I'm gonna open my hands and I'm gonna give you parnasah. Shneimar yiftah Hashem lecha et yatzoro hatov. Oh, based on this level time, now we explain the double language. Why does it say in the Torah patoach tiftach noton titein aser ta'aser? It's going on based on my action and Hashem's action. What is it patoach tiftach? Patoach. If I open up, tiftach, Hashem will open up. Im naton, if I give, titein, Hashem is going to give me. Im ani ta'aser, if I give maaser, Hashem's also aser ta'aser. Two languages, because we're trying to trigger something from above. If we do that te'una from below, that triggers something from above. That's patoach tiftach. That's double language, and that's why we explain Rabotai Gemara Berachot. Says the Gemara on source number 17. Amar Rav Hizda, le'olam. When a person is walking in shul, he should always try to walk in two doors. It says the Gemara, what does that mean to walk inside two doors? The width of two doors, a person should walk in. And then let him pray. But what does that mean? A person should walk inside the Beit Knesset with two doors? What does that mean? Well, it could mean two doors, but it could also mean two openings. That before a person should pray, he should open his hand twice. One, he's opening his hand, and the other hand who's opening? We open our hand once, and then patoach, we open, and then tiftach, then Hashem opens. That's why the Gemara says, Bab Batra, source number 18, Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Eliezer, before he would pray, he'd say, I have to give tzedakah first. Because the moment we give tzedakah, Hashem says, you made it te'una, you did an action on below, therefore I'm going to give an action from above. That's what Rabbi Eliezer would only begin praying only after he gives tzedakah. Because right now we're asking Allah from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Therefore, in order to bring down the influence, in order to activate the shefa, we have to do it first, and then Hashem does it right afterwards. So just to review, Rabbi, we have two answers. Mazeh patoach tiftach. What is this double language in the Ton Titein? First answer we gave depends on kavanah. The basic kavanah that everyone should have before he does mitzvot is the reason why I'm doing this in tzvah is because Hashem commanded me to. Patoach tiftach. The first time I did the mitzvah patoach, I forgot to have the kavanah. And afterwards tiftach, have the right kavanah. What's the kavanah? The reason why we do mitzvot is because Hashem said. Hashem said. That's why we do mitzvah. Patoach tiftach. Another answer is based on the Shema Kadosh, that in order to trigger a response from above, we have to do the same thing from below. A person wants Hashem to give him parnasah, patoach, he must first make an action on earth, patoach, he must open his hands to the ani, and afterwards, tiftach, and then Hashem will give him the exact same thing. The reason why I say this, Rabbi, the reason why I chose this darash is because we are exactly a week away from Rosh Chodesh Elul. A week from tonight, we're going to be ushering in Rosh Chodesh Elul today. And we say in the prayers of Rosh Chodesh that Teshuvah, Tefillah, Utzedakah, Ma'avirin et Ro'ah Gezerah. So I understand Teshuvah. I'm changing myself. If Hashem says, if you change, I'm also going to change the Gezar Din. I also understand Tefillah. That's when we connect to Hashem. But what does Tzedakah have to do with anything? How the fact that I'm giving Tzedakah, how the fact that I'm giving tzedakah, does it have a ability to change the ru'ah gazardin? What does one have to do with the other? Well, I'll explain. If you look in source number 19, this is Shlomo Melech talking in Mishlei. Malaveh Hashem chonen dal ugimulo yeshalem lo. If a person is chonen dal, if he gives tzedakah to the ani, if he helps him out in time of need, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, ani kiviyachol, oh my God, ani kiviyachol, I become, Hashem is talking, I become like the borrower and you become like the lender. Kiviyachol. You know, the Pasuk says, Eved loveh le'ish malveh. That the person who got money, he becomes like the Eved, he becomes like the servant, the man who gave him. Kiviyachol Hashem, if we do something for the ani, if we do something positive for a man in need, Hashem says, you took care of him, you lent him money, therefore I become like your borrower and you become like the lender. Who cares? I'll read you from a book called Saski Mratecha. He says as follows. He says, Chonen dal, when a person does something positive for his friend in need, when a person does something good for a poor man, for a person who doesn't have, he's not only talking about giving him money. Generally speaking, to help anybody that needs help. You see a person that needs a shidduch, God forbid a person doesn't have children, and you pray for him, that's also considering giving the guy tzedakah. You know the person has trouble in his house, the person is sick, and you help him. You make you make a bake sale, you make a food drive, you collect food for him. It's also considered helping somebody in need. Sometimes you don't even have to do anything that's a physical act. Even it's not even to smile to somebody. Or a positive good morning, a positive goodbye, a positive good night. Or just by saying good morning or good night to somebody, you already redeemed a Jew in need. Therefore Hashem says, when you help somebody in need, whether that could be just by praying for him or by helping him out in any which way, it's almost as if you're helping me. It's like you're lending me money. And I become like the person who borrowed from you. Because that person who's suffering, he's my child. When you're helping my child, it's almost as if you're helping me. Therefore, it says Rabbi, it's a big nafkamina. When a person is suing somebody else in Beit Din, when a person is suing somebody else, the guy that's being sued has the right to choose whatever Beit Din he wants to go to. That's the law. If a guy takes a guy to Beit Din, the guy that's being taken to Beit Din he gets the right to choose whatever Beit Din he wants to go. However, when a guy lends somebody else money, the guy that's lending the money, he gets to choose what Beit Din to go to. And therefore says the Rabbi, when we give to somebody, he becomes like us almost. He becomes like the person who borrowed from. And since that's the case, if we are the lenders and Hashem is the borrower, what's the law when it comes to lenders and borrowers? The lender decides which Beit Din to go to. And therefore, when it comes to Yom Hadin on Rosh Hashanah, we get that at the end of the day, since I did something positive and I helped another Jew out, or I gave him tzedakah, or I prayed for him, or whatever the situation is, I become like the lender and you're the borrower. Therefore, in the case of lenders and borrowers, I get to choose the Beit Din, we tell Hashem. And therefore what? When it comes to Rosh Hashanah, we tell Hashem, we don't want the Beit Din of the strict judgment. We don't want that very strong Beit Din. We want the Beit Din that's going to give us a good year. We want the Beit Din that's considered the merciful Beit Din. When you help somebody in need, that we can say to Hashem, you don't have the right to choose what Beit Din you take us in Rosh Hashanah. We have the choice to take you whatever Beit Din we want. And therefore we want the Beit Din of Rahamim and not that of Midat Hadin. We should keep this incredible lesson in mind. Just a couple of weeks away until Rosh Hashanah, and it's already now in this time that we should be thinking, what are we going to take away? What is the whole lesson we're gonna have in the future for our Yom Kippur, for our Elul, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Hashem? Should keep this in mind. Shabbat Shalom.